bomb explosion for your brain. In her warehouse in sales and marketing with over 30 years of experience, including a successful career working with Fortune 100 companies. But her story isn't just about corporate success, it's about transformation. In 2013, Tamira made a bold shift from corporate life to entrepreneurship, determined to create a life on her own terms. As a single mom of two, she knew firsthand the challenges of balancing career ambitions and family responsibilities, and that journey led her to a master digital marketing and content strategy led her to mastering digital marketing and content strategy, building an online brand that now reaches over 50,000 followers. She is the creator of Pins Profits Mastery, a program designed to help business owners use Pinterest to drive traffic and increase revenue. With a background in marketing and finance, she holds both a bachelor's and a master's degree and is a certified content marketing strategist. And welcome to Mira. We are so pleased to have you here with us today.
Thank you. I am happy to be here. I know, like, if you're watching this and you're probably like, why is this woman talking about menopause, right? And I can tell you one of the reasons I am in digital marketing and online and not working in corporate is because, unbeknownst to me, what I was going through that helped drive me out of corporate was menopause. Does that make sense? No one was talking about it, right? So I'll give you a real quick of my story, right? So I'm going to go back a little further than I normally would, just because my homegirl Heather's presentation, and we talked about how it's kind of like puberty, right? So I turned 18 one Tuesday and I had a baby the next, right? I'm also, in case you didn't notice, I am a Black woman. And one of the things we haven't talked about here is Black women tend to go into menopause about a year to a year and a half earlier than non-Black women do. Why that is, I don't know, but we do, right? So we also tend to, I believe, begin menstruating before others do at an earlier age, right? It doesn't mean that if you put two people next to each other that it's always going to work out that way. However, it did. And in my case, I started menstruating, I think, 2 weeks before my 11th birthday, and I was mortified. I knew what was going on, but I was mortified, and a couple of my friends did too. Now, I can attribute that to, I think, being parentified early, having to, be a contributing part of the household through my labor and eventually financially. So all of these things are part of my story. And at the age of 35, after 2 or 3 recommendations, it was suggested that I get a hysterectomy, and it was a partial hysterectomy. So I still have my ovaries. I thought I only had one, but I actually still have both. And all I was told was that, because I had questions, but I couldn't get answers, all I was told was that just meant I would be in menopause because I wasn't getting a period anymore. And I did not find out until over 15 years later that that is not the case. That because I still had my ovaries, I think it's actually in the last 2 years that I've learned this, that because I still had my ovaries, that did not mean that I immediately went into menopause. I believe I went through some perimenopausal symptoms, and then around between 45 and 48 is when I actually started, because my ovaries were still ovulating, right? And so I was not fully in menopause, right? And so the purpose of me being here today is to talk about the fact that menopause has a like $26.2 billion impact on the United States economy, right? Because of the fatigue, because of the brain fog, because of the lack of concentration, and all of these symptoms down to joint pain. And there's like nearly 100, as Heather and others have said. It impacts your work. It impacts your work life. And in my case, I was working in a very toxic work environment. And when you compound the stress, I was also going through a period of grief because I lost a very strong pillar in my life, my grandfather, and it's all just compounding. And all I think is I am going crazy. And I was not even yet in menopause, remember, because this is over 10 years ago, and I still had my ovaries and was still ovulating. So it's all coming to a head. And I make this big, bold, audacious decision to leave corporate America and start out on my own, thinking that would help reduce the stress, that would make life easier. And it did to a degree. However, the stress came to me in a different way. And it wasn't new. It continued, it magnified and exploded. And that was the stress from the family, because I'm the oldest and firstborn daughter, the oldest and firstborn granddaughter, and the oldest and firstborn niece in a Black family. So it was hell. It continues to be hell. It pops up. It did this week. I feel like I've been in a war my entire life, but the war was for peace, right? The war has been for peace. And the older I get, the more protective of that peace I am. My children are adults. I've raised them. I made sure to give them the tools, the resources to think critically and be productive citizens. At this point, you are on your own. I've given you guidance. I've poured everything into you that I can. If it was not good enough, I am sorry. But from here on out, it is about me and what is going to give me my sanity and my peace. So my work environment is such that